first time someone said, that's impossible to you, those words might have changed your whole perspective to match theirs. Maybe these words were said to you when you had ideas on matters that people had already given up on, or when people saw your ideas as something that just couldn't be achieved. But have you ever thought, what if their impossible was my possible? I mean, just because they couldn't do it doesn't mean you can't. Now, I'm not going to say corny things like, you can do it, or believe in yourself, because let's be honest, you deserve so much more than that cliche motivation. What you need is real advice. Hi there, I'm Neha Karthikeyan, and today I'll be your guide to finding the possible in impossible. First of all, the word impossible coming from someone's mouth is basically them saying, I don't think it can be done, which is why your response should be, dude, I honestly don't care what you think, I'm gonna do it anyway. On the contrary, sometimes it's you who's telling yourself that something's impossible. Again, my advice would be to slap yourself and try anyway, because it's not every day you get the chance to try something new. For example, I remember when I was younger, I had really short hair, and I absolutely hated it. So naturally, I went to my mother and begged her to somehow make my hair longer. She, of course, said no. So using my 5-year-old logic, I told her, fine, I'll do it myself. She laughed and said, Neha, that's impossible. So I accepted her challenge. I grabbed my sister's skirt, threw it on my head, and proudly announced, look, long hair. My mom was horrified, and I insisted on going to school with my luscious locks. She said no for whatever reason, but hey, at least I made the impossible possible, somewhat. Let's look at another story, the Wright brothers. How many of you know the Wright brothers? Quite a lot, right? Well, did you know that when the Wright brothers first started, people thought they were crazy? I mean, back in the day, an idea like theirs would have sounded ridiculous. Humans flying like birds? It sounds almost comedic. But the Wright brothers, they didn't back down. Instead of seeing impossible, they saw maybe. That maybe is the reason we have planes today. That small rickety plane in 1903 evolved into one of mankind's greatest inventions. Let's be honest, how many of you have let the word impossible stop you at least once? You're lying if you say it hasn't. Sometimes as soon as the word impossible pops up into our heads, we let go of ourselves. We stop before we even try. We convince ourselves that it's too hard. But here's the twist. Most of the time, it's not the task that's impossible. It's our mindset that tells us it is. Because seriously, tell me, how many dreams, ideas, or even crazy plans have you quietly buried because they seem too unachievable? Maybe it wasn't the world telling you no. Maybe it was you. We get so used to playing it safe, avoiding failure, that we forget what it feels like to actually try. Like I said before, most of the time, things aren't impossible. We just never get the chance to actually find out. Think about it. Every dream, every idea, every invention once started out as something people thought was ridiculous. But someone, somewhere along the way, decided to try anyway. And that why not is what changes everything. Just imagine, it's the 1800s, and someone tells you, you'll be able to talk to someone who's miles away. You'd laugh, right? I mean, back in the day, something like that would have sounded crazy. But in 1876, Alexander Graham Bell made that craziness happen. On March 7th, he received a patent for a device able to transmit speech by electricity. Within a few days, on March 10th, he shouted into his invention, Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you. His assistant heard him through the phone, but what sounded impossible became something we do every single day. Video calls, voice chats, texting across continents, all because someone dared to try. So what does this all tell us? Impossible is an unreliable opinion, not a fact. And what do we do with unreliable opinions? We put them in a sack and throw them out the window. Each time we call something impossible, we build a limit in our heads. And each time we dare to try, we moved that limit a bit further away. The Wright brothers flew, Bell connected voices, I grew magical hair, and you can do something that the world hasn't even seen yet. Because the truth is, impossible only stays impossible until someone like you decides it isn't. Impossible isn't a wall, it's a dare. And after all, impossible spells I'm possible. Thank you.